Hello, my name is Charlotte, and like many people around the globe, I have long COVID. I contracted COVID in October 2020 and have been chronically ill ever since recovering from the virus. Throughout this time, I began writing poetry to help me process what I was going through. The symptoms I describe in my poems are not my COVID symptoms. They are the chronic symptoms that have continued to plague me for over a year and a half after recovering from COVID. Sometimes I would experience great numbers of them all at once, particularly when relapsing, and many of them stayed with me every single day for months on end. It is a cruel illness. It wears down every physical and mental barrier you have, then lulls you into a false sense of security as you see marginal improvement before plunging you back under the waves. It can almost feel personal at times, like it is a malevolent force determined to break you. There is a strong misconception that long COVID is limited to chronic fatigue. This is not true. The condition affects many people very differently, just like COVID, and the only current experts on long COVID are those suffering with it. Please listen to them and believe them. Experiencing the illness is harrowing enough, but trying to communicate what I was going through to others was almost impossible and extremely exhausting and isolating. Many people simply could not understand that doctors didn't know what to do with me. That was such a foreign concept, because doctors are always there to help us. They are the experts. It wasn't a terminal illness like cancer, where the options had been exhausted and there was nothing more to do. It was a complete unknown. We didn't even have a starting point. I didn't know if I would get better with time, whether I would never recover and had begun a new life of constant pain, or whether I would suddenly drop dead after one of my more aggressive relapses. I have seen countless medical professionals over the last year and a half. I have been told that it's all in my head. I have received sympathetic words and strong sedatives, confused silence, given advice which I now know in hindsight would have been dangerous, and have been misdiagnosed several times due to the confusing range of symptoms I presented. Many of these symptoms are invisible. You can't see chest pain. You can't see vertigo, or chronic fatigue, or brain fog, or nerve damage, or migraines, or palpitations. When I was too ill to function, I hid from the world. The pandemic made that easy. Loved ones never saw me at my worst, and when I was just able to venture out, people would tell me I looked well, when I felt like I was poisoned and rotting from the inside. At their worst, the issues with my heart alone made every day terrifying, excruciating, and almost unbearable. I would fear consciousness, impatient for the end of the day when I could attempt to sleep. At least you're not in pain when you're asleep. However, the nighttime was often when my symptoms would surge, and I would spend hours writhing in pain and fear, begging for it to stop so I could close my eyes and disappear. I completely dissociated from my body. It became an alien to me. Months and months of forced inactivity made my body weak, bloated, and unrecognizable. It was a prison. The impact on my mental health has been devastating. It is a difficult thing for me to say, but there were times when I truly felt that my life had become so painful, so miserable, and so awful for so long that I didn't want to exist anymore. Had I been on my own, I know in my heart that I would not be here today. I owe my life to my husband, a beacon of light and love blazing in my darkest days. This experience has changed me forever. I am a private person who tries to always put my most positive self out into the world, even if I'm going through hell. I have tried to be more open, but haven't really expressed the true impact the illness has had on me. I have kept my story hidden, a small, bright light of truth nestled in my hands, one out of the many stories out there. I have to let it go. I have to tell people, even if they don't believe me or care, the weight of it is too heavy to bear. For me, and for every person suffering with long COVID. I captured my heart and soul and voice in these poems to help tell my story. Now I have to set it free. Thank you for listening.